Imagine for a moment the gentle sway of a pendulum. It moves forward, then backward, forward again. And yet, in each moment of its motion, there is an undeniable stillness, a silent presence that lingers in the space between each swing. What if I told you that every second that passes, every tick of time, never truly disappears? That it remains, as real as the present, locked in a dimension just beyond our grasp. This is the silent pendulum of the universe. It swings not just through time but through dimensions, leaving traces of each moment in the fabric of reality. The world we see, the life we experience, is only a sliver of what truly exists. Beyond the familiar three dimensions of space, there is a fourth dimension, one that holds every past moment, every future possibility, existing simultaneously. And within this dimension, time itself is not linear, but cyclical, much like the motion of a pendulum. Pause for a moment. Feel the invisible pull of time. Each second that passes is still here, suspended in the silent arc of the pendulum's swing. You are not simply moving forward, you are part of a continuum, a thread in an intricate, multi-dimensional tapestry that weaves the present into the past and future. The concept of time as we know it is merely a construct, a way to understand the unfolding of events. But in the fourth dimension, time is not something that slips through our fingers. It is a constant presence, a force that surrounds us, one that we are deeply entangled with. Every action, every thought, remains etched into this eternal flow, always accessible, always connected. Think of the pendulum again, swaying back and forth. Now, envision that this movement is not restricted to the dimensions you know. With every swing, the pendulum leaves a trace, a mark, not just in space but in time. Every action, every thought, remains etched into this eternal flow, always accessible, always connected. Think of the pendulum again, swaying back and forth. Now, envision that this movement is not restricted to the dimensions you know. With every swing, the pendulum leaves a trace, a mark, not just in space but in time. And these marks are not erased, they form a continuous line, stretching backward and forward, forever. Every second that you have lived, every experience you have had, still exists in this dimension, preserved in the silent echoes of time's rhythm. As you move through life, you are constantly intersecting with this fourth dimensional plane. Sometimes, it feels like a memory, an unexpected feeling of déjà vu, a sudden glimpse of the past as though it still lingers in the air. Other times, it manifests as intuition, a sense of the future, not as something distant but as something already written, waiting to be uncovered. The silent pendulum teaches us that time is not what it seems. We are not merely passengers in a forward-moving stream. We are, in fact, part of a grander cycle, where every moment is preserved, every possibility exists, and time itself is more fluid, more expansive than we could ever imagine. Imagine standing at the center of this pendulum's arc. From this vantage point, you can see not just the path ahead but the path behind. You can sense the connection between all moments, all experiences, as though they are happening simultaneously, layered upon one another. This is the nature of the fourth dimension, a place where past, present, and future are not separate, but intertwined, existing as one. Every second is still here. Every choice you've made, every path you've taken, still exists, held in the silent swing of the pendulum. It is a comforting thought, isn't it? To know that no moment is truly lost, that time is not something that slips away from us, but something that enfolds us, keeps us within its grasp. It means that we are never truly disconnected from the past, and the future is always within reach. The silent pendulum is not just a metaphor for time, but for the invisible connections that bind us to the world, to the universe, and to each other. It reminds us that our lives are not linear stories with beginnings and endings, but complex, multi-dimensional tapestries where everything, every second, every experience, every breath, continues to exist, layered upon itself, creating an intricate web of existence. In this fourth-dimensional view, the pendulum swings, and we begin to understand that the present is not the only reality. The past is still here. The future has already begun. And we are always, endlessly, moving through it all. As we delve deeper into the concept of the silent pendulum, we begin to transcend the common understanding of time as a mere linear progression. Time, in its essence, may not be the ticking of clocks or the movement of hands upon a face, but rather a complex structure, a fourth-dimensional construct, that intertwines with space to create the very fabric of our existence. To grasp this, we must elevate our thinking beyond the conventional three-dimensional framework in which we are bound. Consider for a moment the nature of a pendulum, the seemingly simple mechanics of its oscillation. To the untrained eye, its motion appears confined, deterministic, swaying from one end to the other in a predictable rhythm. But what if this motion were not confined to the spatial dimensions we perceive? What if the pendulum, in its silent, unceasing arc, traced not just points in space but left imprints in time itself? This is the paradigm shift that must occur, the understanding that every moment, every swing, leaves behind a residue, a mark that is not erased but exists perpetually within the continuum. The fourth dimension, as proposed in theoretical physics, offers a profound reconsideration of our existence. Here, time is not merely a transient flow, it is a spatial dimension, as real and tangible as length, width, and height. To navigate this realm is not to travel forward or backward in time as we imagine, but to perceive the entirety of time, past, present, and future, as a single, eternal plane. The pendulum's swing is not merely a metaphor but an illustration of our existence within this structure. Every moment oscillates in and out of view, but each remains, suspended within this dimension, eternal and immutable. In this context, the concept of simultaneity becomes crucial. Traditional views of time suggest a strict progression from one moment to the next, yet in the fourth dimension, all moments exist concurrently, though our limited perception only allows us to experience them sequentially. The silent pendulum, in its cyclical motion, mirrors this paradox. It reminds us that the passage of time is an illusion, a product of our limited consciousness. In reality, all moments, every second that has passed, and every second yet to come, are already here, already present, woven into the intricate architecture of the cosmos. This realization invites us to reconsider the very nature of existence. If all moments exist simultaneously, if the pendulum never truly leaves its prior position, but rather exists in all positions at once, what then is the significance of the present moment? Is the present merely an intersection of possibilities, a fleeting glance at the entirety of time? Or is it the most tangible expression of the infinite, the point at which we, as sentient beings, touch the eternal? The silent pendulum posits that the present moment is not simply the result of past actions, nor merely a precursor to future events. Instead, it is a node, a confluence where the past, present, and future converge, where the totality of time can be experienced, if only we can broaden our perception. To view time from this elevated perspective is to understand that the pendulum's motion is not a metaphor for movement through time, but rather for our oscillation between awareness and ignorance, between understanding and confusion. In this state of heightened perception, we begin to recognize the invisible connections that bind all moments together. Much like the unseen forces of gravity or magnetism, time exerts a pull, a subtle yet inescapable influence, drawing each moment toward the next while simultaneously preserving the past in an eternal suspension. The silent pendulum reminds us that no moment is ever truly lost, just as no swing of the pendulum ever disappears. It lingers, like an echo, reverberating through the fourth dimension, accessible to those who can attune their consciousness to its frequency. It is within this elevated framework that the true significance of the pendulum's silence reveals itself. The absence of sound, the stillness within the motion symbolizes the underlying stillness of the fourth dimension itself. Here, there is no noise, no chaos, only the silent hum of existence, a profound tranquility that transcends the ceaseless activity of the material world. To align oneself with this silence is to glimpse the eternal, to feel the quiet resonance of the universe's rhythm.